Hello everybody, in this video we're going to be going over how to recognize PLL for 3x3. Now, just to note that for every sticker arrangement, or in this case arrangement for PLL, it's never going to represent a second case, because if that were the case, we'd have parity. And there is a problem with it on 4x4, but we'll do that later. So now, I'm going to be starting with the easiest cases and then working our way up to the harder ones. And if you need to go to a specific case, I have them all up here and you can click to any of them at any point in the video. Okay, so now, just to show you some stuff before we get started, one thing is, opposites. Now, opposites are the colors that you get on certain sides when you do only 180 returns. So, for this case, it'd be white and yellow, green and blue, and red and orange. Now, it may be different if you have a different color scheme, but that's how those work. The other thing that we'll need to go over is headlights, and that's where there are two corners solid with each other, and they basically form the same color. So that's what headlights are. So that's what how we'll be doing this here, and I will be going over all the angles for them, except if the angle is the exact same as another one, just the mirror image. I'm not going to go over it, because any similar cases would just be the mirror image version of it. And there's also going to be some cases where there's a mirror image version of that case. And I'm not going to go over this mirror image version either, because it's the same thing, just with mirrored image cases with it. So, yeah. So, with all that said, let's get to it. Okay, the first case we're going to go over here is the H permutation. Now, this case is the easiest one to recognize. So, we have headlights all over the place, and we also have the edges are not solved, and they have opposites between them right here. And the thing is that you'll always see that on all the sides. So this works for any angle. So you'll always see headlights from any angle, and you will always see solved edges or unsolved edges with opposites there. So that's what makes this case so easy. So let's get to the next case. Okay, this next case we're going to go over is the J permutation. Another very easy case to recognize. Now, the way we're going to recognize this is there are two angles that are very obvious. So, now this first one here, you'll see that we have these three pieces matched and these two pieces matched. And if you ever see that, you'll know it's a J-perm. And if you ever get it like this, where these three pieces are matched and this is also matched with it, then it's also the J-perm. Now, these other angles are a little bit harder, but not that much harder. Now, this case here, one case that might look similar to this is the N permutation. Now, the way to recognize this is there's two ways you can recognize this. So, first one is all colors. You can see this has all the colors, rather this doesn't. Another way is by opposites. This has opposites here, but this one doesn't. So, that's the way to recognize the N permutation for this. It also works for this, but it's a little bit more obvious that it's the J permutation, because this part here doesn't share opposites, and again, this has all the colors and this one doesn't. So if you ever see bars like this matched up here and here without all the colors showing, then it is the J perm. So let's get to the next case. Okay, the next case we're going to go over is the N permutation. Now, the only case that looks similar to this is the J permutation. And the previous case, we just went over it, but I'll go over it again. So, on the N perm, it shares all the colors, and this one here doesn't have all the colors. So, that's one way to recognize it. Another way you can recognize it is it has opposites here on this one, but there's no opposites here. But over here, it does have opposites. So, that's how you want to recognize the N perm. It has all the colors and complete opposites, but this one doesn't. So, let's get to the next case. Okay, this next case we're going to go over is the Z permutation, or the Z perm. Now, this case here is very easy to recognize. Now, this way here is obviously super simple. We have headlights all over the place, and these two edges have to be switched. So now, it's obviously super easy here. This way is a little bit harder. Now, the only case that looks similar to this here is the U perm. Now look closely at it. What's the difference? Well, here it is. There's actually two ways to recognize this. The first way is this has all the colors, but this one here doesn't. So this one here is the U perm if it doesn't have all the colors, but if it has all the colors, it's the Z permutation. Another way you can recognize this is when you switch these two on the Z permutation, it doesn't do anything, but over here it will solve something when you switch the two. So that's another way you can recognize it, and you should also never see any opposites. So yeah, let's get on to the next case. Okay, the next case we're going to go over is the T permutation. Now, this case is also very similar, or no, not similar, easy. Now, with this case here, this angle is to this angle. It's the exact same thing, just like this angle is to this angle. It's the same thing, just in a mirrored image version. Now, I'm not going to go over all four angles. We're going to go over the two, just because it's the exact same thing. It's just not worth it. Anyway, let's get to this. So, the only case that looks similar to this, or anything close to it, is the R perm. Now, there's one way we're going to recognize it, and here it is. This case here has all the colors, but this here doesn't. So you should always see these two matched up, mismatched corners here that are not solved. So it means no headlights here. Sorry if it looks a little bit similar, but anyway, and this should not be solved here. Alright, and these two edges should be missolved, but that's a little bit hard to recognize. So that's the way you're going to want to recognize it, but just to make it easier, this has all the colors, this one doesn't. So that's how we're going to recognize it. Now, this other angle here, the R perm is also similar to this. It's the only one that looks similar to this. We should have headlights right here with this paired up and an opposite in between it like that. Now, on the R perm, you can see that it has red here. Now, what's a little bit backwards about this is, if you remember, this had all the colors and this one didn't. Well, this time, this has all the colors and this one doesn't. So, it's a little bit backwards about this. Anyway, so you should have opposites in here and no opposites here. You should have not all the colors here, but all the colors here. So, those are the two ways you can recognize this case here. So, yeah. Let's get to the next case. The next case we're going to go over is the U permutation. Now, this case is also easy to recognize, but there's also some harder parts to recognize this from the other ones. Now, the way we're going to recognize this is that if you ever see headlights all over the place, like I mentioned, and you see that this edge is solved between it, whether it's this side or this side, you'll automatically know it's the U permutation. Now, to tell which U permutation it is, you just have to see whether it's if it's an opposite or not. So that's the way you're gonna want to look at it, and you'll be able to tell instantly which one it is. Now, when we go over here, it's a little bit harder. We'll automatically know it's one of the U permutations if we see headlights and all over the place, and if you see an edge with opposites here, but an edge without opposites. So that's the way you'll want to look at it. And you'll know that the bar is directly behind this piece right here. So that's how we recognize it like that. Now, over here is a little bit harder. The way we're going to recognize this is, so the case that will look similar to it is the Z permutation, or the Z perm. Now, we went over this in the Z perm, but I'll go over it again. Now, for this one, it doesn't show all the colors, but this one, it does show all the colors. And if you switch the two on this one, it will solve one of them, but if you do it on this, it won't solve one of them. So that's what you want to be looking for when looking at a U perm or a Z perm. So, that's how you recognize it there. Okay, now recognizing which U-perm it is from this angle is a little bit harder. Now we'll look at the mirrored image version of the U-perm right here. Now the edges are the same, but the way we need to look at this is based off of the colors of the corners. Now, remember how I said in the Z-perm how when you switch these two it'll do something, but on the Z-perm it doesn't? Well, here's what you're going to need to look for. Okay, when you switch the two, you need to look for which color is going to become solved, and then you go to that edge that will become solved, and located directly behind it will be the bar that will be formed on the back. So in this case here, it's this one. So that's how you're going to want to recognize it based on how that is. So a little bit tricky to get used to, but I'm sure you'll be able to figure it out there. So let's get to the next case. Okay, the next case we're going to go over is the A permutation. Now, this is where things are going to start to get a little bit more tricky, and the reason for that is because these cases are going to have a lot more different cases that will look similar, or some much harder ones to distinguish. Because the first ones I showed you had one case, usually just one case, you know. Some of them had 0, and some of them had up to 2 of them. But these ones are going to have at least 2, usually 3, sometimes 4, and possibly 5 different ways to do it. Now, even though this one has 4 different ones, this is easier than some of them that only have 2 or 3. So that's why I'm going to show you this now. And this one is going to have some more different similar cases from the same angles. So with that said, let's get to this. So for this angle here, the way we're going to look at it is we have to look at this, and we'll see that this whole part is solved, and we have to see that these two in the back are solved. Now, one case that looks very similar and almost identical to this is the other A perm. But look very closely at it. What's different? Well, we have white here and orange over here. Now, all the colors will not work on this, and we have to be looking for opposites. And we have opposites here, which will tell us that it's this side. But this one is opposite over here, which will tell us it's this side. So that's what you're going to want to look for when looking at it from this angle. So look for the opposites on these parts here, which will tell you which way they are. Okay, another case that looks similar to this is the V permutation. Now, this one here, as you can see, doesn't have a white here. Now, this one over here does not show all the colors, but this one does show all the colors, and it has complete opposites from this angle. But this doesn't have complete opposites. So, that's how you're going to want to look at these two and looking from this angle. So, let's get to the next angle. Okay, so this next angle here, the way we should see it is we should see these two solved here. This should be solved here, but it's a little bit harder to see. But I'll show you what you need to do now. So we gotta look at it like this here. And now the only case that looks similar to it is the R permutation. Now with this here, we have all colors here, but not all colors here. And we also have opposites right here, but no opposites here. So that's what you're going to want to be looking for when doing this case. So that's what we just have to be on the lookout for. So let's get to the next angle. Okay, so this next angle right here, it's a little bit harder, but here's what we're going to want to look for. So we want to look for headlights right here, and we also want to see that the edges and the other corner are not solved between it. Now, the case that looks similar to this is the R permutation. Now, the difference between this is this doesn't have all the colors, but this one does. Now, another way we can look at it is these two edges are not solved, but they're solved right here. So that's what you're going to want to look for to see if it's the right angle, or no, not angle, case. So, yeah, let's get to the next angle. Okay, so this next angle here is not too hard. So we should see these two solved here, and on the adjacent side we should see some headlights right here, and with an unsolved edge in between it. Now the only case that looks similar to this is the G perm, and this is the A, not the B. Now with this here, as you can see, this has yellow, but this has white. So one way you want to look at it is this has all the colors, this one doesn't, and also these edges are mismatched, but these edges are matched. But an easier way is just to see that we have all the colors here. So that's what you basically want to be on the lookout for with this angle. So let's get to the next case. Okay, the next case we're going to go over is the R permutation. Now, this case here is not too hard to recognize, but it's a little bit harder than the other ones. So, starting off with this angle here. The case that looks similar to this is the T-perm, and when we went over the T-perm, I mentioned this, but I'll go over it again. So, on this, you're looking for opposites here, but non-opposites here. So remember, this has all the colors, but this one doesn't. So that's what you're basically looking for. So we've got the headlights right here with one edge touching one of the corners that's part of the headlights. And mismatched edge and a mismatched corner, but no opposites. And it should show all the colors. So we got that. Now onto this angle. Now it's the same thing as the T-perm. So we have these two pieces matched up here, two mismatched edges here, and the edge should be solved, but the way we can tell the difference without having to look very closely at it is that this should have all colors, but the R-perm will not have all the colors. So that's how you're going to want to recognize the R-perm. Alright, there's one other algorithm or case that looks similar to this, so I'm going to show you that in just a second. Okay, the other case that looks similar to the R-perm from this angle is the A-perm, and we just went over this with the other A-perm, but what happens is, this one has all the colors, this one, or no, sorry, this doesn't have all the colors, but this one has all the colors. Now, on this one we have opposites here, but no opposites here, so basically, what you need to look for is this piece solved here with, mismatched corners here without opposites, and it shouldn't have all the colors. So that's how you want to recognize it there. So let's get on to the next angle. Okay, so this next angle here is an angle that's very difficult to recognize. This is where it's going to start to get very difficult to recognize it. Now, the case that looks similar to this is the mirrored image of the R-perm. So, it'll be the mirrored image version. Now, the thing that's hard to recognize about this is they look the exact same right here. And, that's what the biggest problem is. And, the colors are just a little bit switched around. But how do we tell which ones are the right colors or which way the algorithm is? Well, here's what we're gonna have to do. So, what we want to look for are opposites right here. So, if you ever see any opposites like this here, that tells you that the headlights are on the side directly behind it. So, basically what you should see here is two mismatched pieces here, mismatched edges that are both opposites, but that don't actually show opposites, you know, like this, but are supposed to be across from each other. And then you should see completely mismatched edges, you know, without any headlights whatsoever. So that's what you're gonna want to look for when doing this, and then look for where you see some opposites. And then you'll know right behind it is where the headlights are, and then you'll know that the edge is over here. So that's how you're going to want to look for this case. So let's get on to the last angle. Okay, so this last angle is not as hard as the last one, you know, but this is a little bit harder than the other ones. Now, what we're going to need to look for is headlights right here. And then what we need to look for is mismatched edges between it right here. And you should never see opposite edges like these two between it. So they should both be of different sides, you know, that are not across from each other. The sides should be adjacent. Now, the case that looks similar to this is the A permutation. Now, as you can see here, this has red, but this has orange. Now, the R perm here, as you can see, doesn't show all the colors, but the A perm does. And also, if you switch these two, it'll solve this whole section here, and then it's just these two corners that have to switch. And if you solve these two here, it'll solve this there, but not the other one. So that's what you want to see. You should see that these two have to be switched. So that's basically what the hard part about this side is. So that's how you do that. So let's get on to the next algorithm, or case. Okay, this next case we're going to go over is the G permutation. Now, there's two types. This is the B type, you know, where it looks more like this than the other one. So, now, this case here, the first two angles are relatively easy, but there's some other angles that are a bit harder to recognize. So, now, this angle is very easy. It's easier than it looks. You should see two pieces matched up right here, an opposite edge in here, and then some mismatched corners. And you can actually tell that this is the G-perm if you don't even know what these corners are, as long as you know that they're mismatched from everything else. They don't match up with anything. Because even if you rearrange these corners in any way, something else will become solved. So you should just see corners that aren't matched with these, that have the same colors, but you don't have to look for that part. So that's what makes this easy to recognize here. Over here, it's also easy to recognize. What you want to look for is headlights right here, an opposite in between them, and then an opposite edge from that right next to it. So that's what you should always see when doing this. You don't even have to see this corner, in fact. So that's all you have to see, and you'll automatically know that this is right. So as long as you know that this is not going to match with this, then you'll know it's solved. So that's what there is for that angle. Now, this angle is a little bit harder. The only case that looks similar to it is the opposite G-perm. Now, what you basically need to know is how to tell which algorithm it is. Now, the way we're going to look at this is, it kind of looks a little bit like the H-perm, except there are not full headlights all over the place. So that's what's different about it. Now, what you're going to want to look for is the part in there that is not matching with the headlights, you know. So basically, the corner that is not part of these headlights right here. And then on that layer back there, the rest of these here that are on the way back here, that's where the two matched pieces are. So the two matched pieces are right here on the very back. So that's how you're going to want to recognize that case for this angle. So let's get to the next angle. Okay, this last angle here is not too difficult to recognize. Now, the only case that looks similar to it is the V permutation. Now, look closely at it. What's the difference? Well, it's on this corner here. Now, on the G perm, as you can see, it does not use all the colors. But on this one, on the V perm, it does use all the colors. And also, if you look for opposites right here, the G perm has the opposites, but the V perm does not have opposites. So that's what you're going to need to be looking for on this piece way back here. Another way you can look at it is this sticker right here should be matched with these here, where the two pieces are matched on the G perm. So that's another way you can look at it. So yeah, now that we got that, let's get to the next case. Okay, the next case we're going to go over is the G perm, and this is the other one, the G perm, which is the A. Now, we're going to first go over this angle. Now, the only case that looks similar to this is the A perm. Now, what you should see is two pieces matched up, and right adjacent to them are headlights. Now, on the G perm, you should see all colors, but on the A perm, you should see only 3 of the colors, so not all of them. So that's why there's red here instead of orange, because these two are not solved. So that's what you need to know for this angle. Let's get to the next angle. Okay, so now this next angle here, we can only see these two pieces matched up. Now, the only case that looks similar to this is the Y perm. Now, this is going to be much harder, and this is really where things start to get really hard. Now, when we do this here, we really got to be looking at it now. So we got the two pieces matched up. We have opposite edges that are adjacent to each other here. And then we have mismatched edges all over the place. Or no, corners, sorry. And no headlights. Now, on the Y perm, the G perm, we see that there is not an opposite here, but on the Y perm there is an opposite. So that's what the difference is. So on the G perm, we need to have two pieces matched up here, opposite edges here, no headlights, corners not solved. So the corners like are not solved to any edges, and no opposites over here. So that's what you need to look for. But on the Y perm, there is an opposite there. So that's why it's really hard to recognize this case. So let's get to the next angle. Okay, so now onto this angle. This is one of the hardest angles that we have, and there's two cases that look similar to this. The first one I'm going to show you is the E permutation. Now you can see here that these two are different. Now on the E permutation, as you can see, there's no opposites here, but on the G there is an opposite right here. So that's how you're going to want to recognize this case, you know. So you'll need to see that we have these two solved. It shows all the colors, no headlights, and one opposite over there. The other case that looks similar to this is the F permutation. Now, in this one here, the F permutation does not use all the colors. So this one must use all the colors and have these opposites here. So that's how we're going to recognize it from the F permutation. So let's get on to the next angle. Okay, now this last angle is actually quite easy because there's no other case that looks like this. So what we're supposed to have here is headlights, a mismatched corner here, both opposites here, and then there's supposed to be an opposite right there. So that's how you're gonna want to look at it. So basically these opposites are different on a different axis than these other colors that are shown. So that's what we're gonna want to look for in this case here. So very simple, really. So yeah, let's get to the next case. Okay, now the next case we're going to go over is the F permutation. Now this case here is simple to recognize here, obviously, because you're supposed to see a 3 barred bar here, a mismatched corner here, and you actually don't even need to have one of these here solved, because any other possible case with this, you know, will solve something else. So you don't even need to know that. Now, I'm not going to be going over all 4 angles because this angle is the same as this angle, and this angle is the same as this angle. And it's just not worth going over all that, just like in the T-perm, because it's just the same thing, just a mirrored image. So anyway, yeah, this first angle is obviously super simple, same thing with this, but over here it's much harder, so we'll be doing this angle here. Alright, now there's 3 cases that look similar to this. The first one is the G perm that we just went over. Now in the F perm we don't use all the colors, but in the G perm we do. Now what we're supposed to see is right here, we need to see that there are opposites right here. And then we need to see mismatched corners here. And there should not be an opposite on this corner, which will tell us that these corners need to switch. And there should not be opposites on these 2 edges, you know. So that's how it should be. Everything else should be completely mismatched without opposites, but these do have opposites. So that's how we're going to recognize the F perm. I'm going to show you the other cases now. Okay, the second case that looks similar to the F perm is the E permutation. Now, with this one here, as you can see, we do use all the colors, just like with the G perm. Now, this one here doesn't use all the colors, like I mentioned earlier. Now, in this one here, what looks similar is these pieces here. So we need to know that we should see completely mismatched corners, no opposites on the E perm. There should be opposites here. And the thing is that if the corners were switched here to solve it, which would solve the corner part of it that would look similar, it would either make opposites or solve it. In this case, it would solve it. So that's one way we can look at it, you know. Everything should be completely mismatched without any opposites. So yeah, that's how we can recognize it there. Alright, now we're going to go to the last case. Okay, this last case we're going to go over for this is the V perm. Now this one here can be a little more tricky. Now, as you can see, these pieces over here are completely solved. It's just these pieces here. Now, on the F perm here, we have opposites here, and then we have no opposites here. And so what we have to look for is we have to look for a corner here with the 2 edges that have to go right beside them but switched, and then we need to have mismatched corners on the side of it, and there should not be any opposites formed whatsoever. So that's what we need to find for the V perm, but on the F perm, that's not the case. There is an opposite, so that's what we have to look for. So let's get to the next case. Okay, the next case we're going to go over is the V permutation. Now, just to note that this angle and this angle are the same, so I'm only going to go over one. They're just mirrored image. So anyway, we're going to start with this angle. Now, what we should immediately see is this whole thing is built right here, and then there are mismatched corners here. Now, the only case that looks similar to it is the A perm. Now, of course, it could be the other one here, but I'll show you how that happens in a minute. Now, with this we have yellow here but orange here. Now, on this one here, it's complete opposites, but here it's not complete opposites. And another way we can look at it is this has all the colors, this doesn't have all the colors. So we should see both colors here, and if we did this to make it the other A perm, it would be the exact same thing, just on the other side that would look similar. So it's on this side that is a slight difference, but on the other one, this would be the slight difference. So that's what we have to know for that angle, so let's get to the next angle. Okay, so this next angle here is not too hard to recognize. The only case that looks similar to this is the G perm. So first off the bat, what we can tell is these two are solved, and we have opposites right here, and we also have an opposite right here. Now, the difference is these corners back here. This one's yellow and this one's red. So, on the V perm, it uses all the colors, but on the G perm, it does not use all the colors. So that's what we should be seeing. And also on the G perm, as you can see, it's using opposites right here. But on the V perm, that's not the case. So that's what you need to watch out for on the V perm. That if you want it to be a V perm, there cannot be opposites here. So watch very closely at that so that you don't get the two mixed up. So that's what we have to know for that case. Let's get to the next angle. Okay, so this last angle is one of the hardest angles of all of this to recognize. Now, there are three cases that look similar to this. The first one we're going to go over is the E permutation. Now, in this one here, the difference is right here. Now, on this one here, they're not solved, but this one they are solved. But this is a little bit hard to recognize. But one way we can easily get around this is if you look at this piece right here, if you see that we have the two edges that go adjacent to it, but just switched, that's how we can recognize it. So that's what you need to do to recognize it, and then you know that all the other corners are not solved. So it just looks like nothing is matched up at all, no opposites. So that's what you want to search for on this. So let's take a look at the next angle. Okay, the next case that looks similar is the F permutation. Now, the difference is on these corners here. Now, on the V permutation, there are no opposites at all. But on the F permutation, there is an opposite right here, as you can see. Another way we can recognize it is the V perm has all the colors, the F perm doesn't. So, that's another way we can recognize these cases. So, yeah, with that said, let's get to the next case. Okay, so the next case that can be similar to this is the Y perm. So, now this is one of the very hard cases, so it's one of the hardest ones to look at. Now, as you can see, these two are the exact same, so they should be like this here. And now so they're switched. Now on the V perm, as you can see, this thing is between it, which is the corner that belongs on these two. But over here, that's not the case. So it's a little bit more mixed up here. So the problem with this is it's this thing. So this case here is basically this case with an H perm applied to it. So that's what's really hard about recognizing this. But you just gotta recognize that or see that this corner here has different colors than these two here. So yeah, that's how you recognize that. So let's get to the next case. Okay, the next case we're going to go over is the Y permutation. This is another very hard case to recognize. Now, it's obviously super simple from this angle because we have two matched pieces here, so two bars that are matched with a corner that makes it look like complete opposites. But turn it over to here now, and just to note that this angle is the same as this angle, just mirror image. Anyway, so the only case that looks similar to this angle is the G perm, the A, not the B. Now, both of these all have all the colors on them, which makes it harder to recognize. But where do we start by recognizing it? Well, the answer is right here. On this one here, there's an opposite, and over here, there's not an opposite. So what we have to do is, we have to find a bar like this, with an opposite right there, and opposites on these edges here, and a mismatched corner there. And on the G perm, you want to find some matched pieces here, opposites here, and then completely mixed up corners here without opposites. So, with that said, let's get to the next angle. Okay, so now this angle on the back of the Y perm, this is probably the hardest angle to recognize. Now, there are two cases that look similar to this. The first one we're going to go over is the E perm. Now, the difference is these two, which may seem simple, but it's actually very difficult. Now, these two here are solved, but these two are not. They have to be switched. But all of them share the same colors, so they have all the colors on them. They have no opposites to guide you, so it makes it really difficult. So the way we're going to have to look at this is, you need to look very closely at the corners, because on both of these, the corners here will be solved. And you need to look very closely at these two. Now, if these two have both of the colors that are shared by these two, it's the Y perm. But if one of them is not the right color, then it is the E perm. So that's what you really need to be careful with on this. So with that said, let's get to the next case. The other case that looks similar to the Y perm is the V perm here. Now, it's a little bit easier than the last one, but not that much easier. Now, what we need to look for is these two edges here. Now they are the exact same, but what we have to look closely at is the corner between them. Now, on this here, if you switch these two, it'll match up this whole section here. But if you switch the two on this, it's just going to match up these edges here. So that's what you need to look very closely at. So, on the Y perm here, if you switch these two here, it'll match it up with the corners. But if you switch the two here, it'll match it up with this corner here. So that's what you need to look at when looking at these two cases. So with that said, let's get on to the last and final case to look at. Okay, so now we're on to the final case here, which is the E perm. Now this is probably the hardest case out there. There are 4 different cases that can look similar to this. Alright, and just to note that when you look at this here, this case here, it's going to be the exact same as the one on the other side. And just another note is, we're actually only going to be going over one angle, because this angle here is the same, it's just mirrored image. And the reason is then it's going to do is, it's just going to do the exact same algorithms, just mirrored image. But even with just one, there's 4 cases. I mean, that's a lot. Anyway, enough talking, let's get on to the cases. So, the first case that will look similar to this is the G perm, and this is the A version, not the B version. Now, these are what are different here. So, we have opposites here, but no opposites here. They all have the same, all of the colors, and this is the only opposites here, which is on the G perm. So on the E perm, you should not see any opposites whatsoever. So that's what you got to be very careful of on this. So let's get to the next case. Okay, the next case that looks very similar to the E perm is the F permutation. Now, the similarities are these two pieces right here. Now, on the F perm, the orange is switched with the red, and also this corner is different. So a way we can recognize it is, we see opposites here, and also the E perm has all the colors, and the F perm does not from this angle. So that's one way we can find that it's the F perm or if it's the E perm, you have all the colors and if there's any opposites. So there should be no opposites, and you should have all the colors on the E perm. So with that said, let's get to the next case. Okay, the third case that looks similar to the E permutation is the V permutation. Now the difference is this edge right here. Now both of them have all the colors on them, and there are no opposites to help guide you. So it is one of the hardest cases. Now what we need to look for is based on this corner here. Now for this corner here, we should always see on the V perm that when you switch these two, it'll solve this whole thing. But when you switch the two on here, it only solves one part of it. So it doesn't solve the entire thing. So you have to make sure that the two edges that go right next to these are right here on the other sides. So that's how you want to look for it on the V perm, but here that's not the case because these are solved rather these ones are switched. Yeah, so yeah, that's how you recognize the E perm from the V perm. So let's get to the last case. Okay, so this is the last case we're gonna go through. So the only other case that will look similar to the E perm is the Y perm. Now what we need to look for is we need to look at these corners here. Now if we look at the sticker color that's here, and if we need to look for those sticker colors on the edges that are shown. So if both the sticker colors are shown on the edges here, then it's the Y perm. But if only one is shown, it's the E perm. So that's basically how you want to recognize these here. So that's all you got to do to recognize this. So now I'm going to show you how you deal with parity on a 4x4 when this comes up. Okay, so now, when dealing with parity on a 4x4 with PLL recognition, for every single angle you look at it, if you're looking at it assuming you don't have parity, it will be the right case for a PLL. It's never going to show a case from just two sides, you know, that you have parity. So you're going to have to actually look over it after. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you how to do it assuming we don't have parity. So and just to let you know, these are all PLLs. Like this is the F perm, this is the G perm, this is the A perm, and this is the R perm. Now so that's how you want to do it. So we're gonna do this here assuming we don't have parity. So I'm gonna do the A perm here. So I go to do it, and then what we'll see that we have these two here. Now to fix the parity when they're like this instead of the regular algorithm, you're gonna want to do these moves here, which are L, U prime, L prime, and then do the algorithm, and then reverse those moves, and then the key will be solved. So that's how you want to deal with parity on a 4x4. Okay, now if you ever get this case where it looks like you get a PLL skip, you always need to look over and make sure you don't have parity before slamming it down, or else you'll get a DNF. So that's what you always have to do. Now, whenever it's turned, you will be able to see if you have parity before or after you make the turn. So, to say it's like this, we see that there's parity before we turn it. This, we already see there's parity before we turn it. Now, over here, we think we don't have parity, and then we turn it and we see we do have parity. So, if ever it looks like it's completely solved, always check over. But if it's the top layer doesn't need to be, it has to be turned, you will see it, and if you see it, you quickly apply the algorithm that I just showed you, and it'll solve it. So that's how you should deal with parity on a 4x4 when I'm doing PLL recognition. So anyway, I hope this tutorial was really helpful for you to learn how to apply PLL really fast. And if you enjoyed this video, I have some other videos coming out about this type of stuff pretty soon, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys on my next video.